Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And when you talk about Higginbotham Insurance doing so much good around our nation, we have a lot to unpack. And in this case, we're talking about protecting you and your family. And so that's why we're honored to have with us Mary Russell, President of Private Client Services with Higginbotham Insurance. How are you doing?
I'm great today, Jeremy. How are you?
Doing well. You are always a wealth of inspiration when you talk about private client services, personal lines insurance. There's always a lot to unpack, especially with different parts of the U.S. and all the different coverages and what's going on, the trends. Let's start out, though, with some background on Higginbotham Insurance. Give us some background on the company, and then we'll dive in deep.
Sure. So Higginbotham was started in February of '48 by Paul. And he was out of the military. He came, as many soldiers did. They actually went into owning an insurance agency. So that's how Paul started here in Fort Worth. And fast forward, it was a family agency. He passed away. His nephew, Bill Stroud, took over. And then Bill Stroud met a young buck named Rusty Reed and brought Rusty in and said, you know what, I think you'd be a good person to come on the agency side and perpetuate what we built as a family. So anyway, Rusty came over from an insurance carrier background side. That's actually where Rusty and I met. And so he came over and then started building a team. Rusty was employee number 12, and he started bringing in the connections that he had to build out this vision for Higginbotham. What started out as this family-owned commercial and personal lines agency, he saw bringing in full service for our clients to make it better for them, to make everything cohesive, their employee benefits, their individual health insurance, life insurance, their personal insurance, so that they had all of that one stop and the relationship with an agent who really knew them. So that's a short version of where we are Higginbotham. Fast forward, we grew from that Rusty number 12. I was employee number 15. One location here in Fort Worth. Fast forward to 2024, and we now have over 140 locations. We're in 17 states, really across the southeast part of the United States, and about 4,000 employees now that we every day get to enjoy working with and serving our clients and communities. So, good story.
Absolutely. And City Current is part of that family. And so we're honored to be a part of that Higginbotham story for sure. And so talk about the benefits of being a broker. Let's touch that, piece of it. And then also too, day two services. There's a lot of differentiation when you look at what Higginbotham does and the generosity to community, being family, the carrier, like there's so much from a relational standpoint as well. So touch on some of those nuances of being a broker, day two services, and the generosity for the community.
Certainly. So being a broker, we are an advocate for the clients looking for insurance. And we go to many insurance carriers. We have hundreds of contracts with insurance carriers that we actually represent or sell their products. Our goal is to work with clients to help find the best fit for their coverage, the costs, and the needs that they have in their insurance space. With that, that's their decision, how much they want to pay, what we need to insure, what deductibles. Then we bring some tools that we call our day two services. We coined that phrase years ago, back when I started, going, how can we bring some claims assistance? That was sort of the ground root effort of our clients are needing some assistance when it comes to claims, and they don't understand that and they're spending time on it. What services can we bring to help clients when they have an insurance claim or some risk management needs? So what started out with claims and assisting help work with adjusters, insurance companies through the process, roofers, finding vendors, just to help coordinate for those clients, continue to expand. We brought risk management services, loss control, so we could get out there with the client, before claims happen and try to help minimize or mitigate risks. We provide those services at no cost to the client in most all cases. We feel that's a value-added service the clients appreciate, they need, and even more so in this current marketplace and what's going on with the rising claims and the cost of labor and materials, everything going on that impact insurance rates. How can we help minimize that pain as much as possible and help them build a risk management strategy if they don't have one in-house? So you've got that on the property casualty side. We have in-house attorneys that review contracts for clients. So if they're signing a contract, how does that contract marry up with the insurance coverage they have in place, and make sure that we don't have gaps or issues that need to be addressed in a contract that could trigger coverage. So services like that enhance what you're bringing to the customer more than just selling a policy. So a broker brings you options in the market for different products that could be needed. Used to be home, auto, umbrella, used to be building coverage, workers' comp, auto on the commercial side. We're in a world now, cyber is a huge coverage that people should be looking at and talking about. Everybody will know somebody that's had a cyber incident, a cyber breach, a phishing scam. It happens on the personal side to people that are victim to it, and it happens on the business side a lot. And I just hope people are looking at that coverage, because it's a lot more than our old school was identity theft coverage years ago when this started, and cyber has just become more enhanced and a necessity in coverage. So having those products available for customers, being able to talk to them about the need for it so that they have that protection in place if they choose, hopefully before a claim happens, or to prevent. On the day two services side, we even do that on our financial services. So we offer teams that help them have a robust HR team. For an employer that may have one HR person in their department, they've got that commercial behind them with all of these HR resources that are provided by our Higginbotham team. It could be doing marketing, benefit booklets for their employees. It could be doing online enrollments. It could be a call center to help employees enroll in benefits. Compliance, we have an attorney on that side who helps advise and keep clients updated on compliance issues and Department of Labor changes and filings that are needed and required by employers, those that have 401k plans. So the fiduciary responsibility. So there's so much more than selling a policy. And we just started bringing in those value-added tools for the customers that want them or need them, or just put it on the shelf just in case it comes up. And then the other part that we've added a few years ago is actually an in-house HR team. So we can provide the payroll, the HR services, the consultants. If you have an HR matter in-house, employment practices, we do continuing ed training. All of that is offered to our clients as a service to help them run their business day to day. Let us help you with the insurance and the risk management and mitigation piece.
Touch on the heart, the community, the philanthropy, the engagement. I think that's a really important piece of Higginbotham.
Yes, huge. It is, in this business, it is a relationship business. And in all of our communities, we have nonprofits. We have companies that need assistance at different times, and a variety, whatever your personal interest or where your heart lies. It could be in animals. It could be in shelters. It could be kids going to school and needing backpacks. It could be human services, different roles there to help families, to help individuals. As our COVID brought about more and more issues in society, it also brought about plenty of opportunities to help serve. Higginbotham is a big believer in servant leadership. So we mentor and train our new people. We lead by example. What boards can we sit on to help give back to our communities, whether it be our time, our talent, our treasure, any or all of those. We help build houses with Habitat for Community or Habitat for Humanity. We sent a group this year to Africa and helped, I get chills, and helped in the school for children And for 2 weeks, they were immersed, staying there with these children and teaching and learning. And they came back with more. I learned more. I was touched to the soul with this experience. And Higginbotham paid for that opportunity for our employees to go. They didn't have to do that. And they volunteered. So we had about 20 go, and every one of them came back more inspired. And the relationships that were developed during that, even with the partners from the different offices going to it, that was a huge event for us this year and so rewarding. So it can be big, or it can be on a smaller scale, one-on-one, going and donating your time, being a big brother, being a big sister. Like I said, helping build a house, going and volunteering at a shelter. There's so much to do. Taking meals. We prepare some lunches for different groups of people that are in need. So anyway, there's just so much we can do. And you know what, sharing of anything, your time, your talent, your treasure, that is such a daily mantra and inspiration for us here. And I tell people, boy, if you have a day where you're just feeling a little low, go volunteer. Talk about something that will lift you up. Well, that's our culture across Higginbotham. And the other thing that Rusty brought to the table several years ago, a former employee had made a recommendation on a donation she gave, and she really wanted to direct where her donations went instead of making it to a cause, and they decided. So Rusty went, you know what? Let's start a Higginbotham Community Fund. Started it here. The employees have the opportunity, they don't have to do this, but have the opportunity to either contribute to the Hig Community Fund by a lump sum amount, or they can do a little payroll deduct each paycheck. It doesn't matter how much you give. It's just being part of a bigger giving. And we collectively have those dollars. And then each of our offices across all the states, quarterly, we have the opportunity for them to make a recommendation or a request to make a donation to some of the causes in their communities, in their backyard, that are important to them. And the only requirement is you have to be a person who donates. You can participate $1 a year. It's not the amount, it's the heart that you're giving of your treasure as well. So we have given away millions in donations across the states where Higginbotham's representative. It's also even in huge relief. We've had a hurricane hit. We had an explosion years ago in Waco. So Red Cross, those emergency field services that go in to help people. And I feel like that's still part of risk management. That's still part of insurance, is helping people recover their property, their lives, when something devastating like that has happened. And if we can take some of those resources and help in those communities, we should be doing that. And we speak it in volume. So our website shows, we promote just all those opportunities we have for giving. The other thing, it's become so well known that a lot of nonprofits in the communities we're in will actually reach out to us and say, this is our need. And you all usually are very generous to give. And some of those requests are just very, very easy for us to help accommodate and accomplish, but they make a huge impact in these communities. So passionate about what we do. When we put our leadership team together, we all get together once a year for a big meeting. Last year, we deployed everybody in the community where we had our meeting, and we all got to choose from about 20 different nonprofits that needed some assistance, and we all donated our time. We spent an afternoon in the community, several hundred of us donating hours across the city to help some of the partners in need. It was very inspiring. And not only does it help those partners, but what it does to us back at home, and we come to work every day and we get that joy at the end of the day. So where we're reaching out, helping others, it has a bigger impact as well on all of us in our hearts. Just continues to spread.
See, it's so easy to see why we love having you come on the show. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know what? I'm happy. All that's going on, we're all very blessed being part of the Higginbotham family. So thank you.
Well, you are definitely a source of inspiration, and we love it. So let's go ahead and dive in. When you talk about personal lines and obviously private client services, talk about what that entails, and then we'll start diving into the trends. So when you look at your world, what does that encompass?
So anything you pretty much own individually is personal insurance services. Your homes, your autos, your excess liability or umbrella coverage, your boats, your secondary, your vacation homes, your rental properties that you may invest in, watercraft, jet skis, motor homes, all those things that you own personally and usually enjoy with the family, etc. That falls under the personal insurance umbrella when we're talking about personal.
Let's go ahead and start diving into the trends, because we've had you come on in the past and we talked a lot about some of the changes and challenges and opportunities in places like California and Florida where you have natural disasters. And so there's a lot of things that continue to evolve when you talk about, the trends. What are some of the top ones right now that have your mind share?
The industry has, we call it a hard market when it's very hard to place insurance. And in the insurance industry, historically, it's been almost like a roller coaster. We have good years, it's a soft market, the rates go down, insurance companies want to write more business. They're growing, they're a business. Then we go into this cycle of a hard market where there have been a lot of claims, maybe hurricanes, losses, where in those hard markets, that happens because the insurance companies have paid out more in cost of claims than they brought in. And these insurance companies don't like to lose money. So nobody does, but that's been the insurance marketplace, not just personal historically. So that's the cycle. The last 2 years have gotten even harder in the personal insurance space. That's because, as we've talked previously, the weather patterns, the costs of getting materials. After we went through COVID, we couldn't get some car parts to get vehicles repaired. People were in rental cars longer. They ran out of rental car coverage because they were waiting to get cars repaired and parts weren't available. The limited number of cars available caused the rates to go up when you totaled a car and you had to go replace one. So all of those dominoes add up to the cost of settling a claim. The cost of labor's gone up. Getting labor to rebuild a house, repair a car, the materials. So all of that, there's not been any relief yet, which is still causing the market to be hard. Last year, 2023, there's a map that was put out there, many have seen, of weather events. There were 28 over $1 billion weather events in the United States last year, 28. What's interesting is we didn't have a major hurricane that was one of those. We didn't have that major wildfire in California. That, if you look at that map, those events were right up the Midwest of the United States. A lot of just unusual weather patterns with hail, tornadoes that historically have never been as catastrophic as they have been. The other thing is we have a lot of people moving in these areas. So we have more population, we have more cars, we have more homes. When there is an event like that, you have more property that's damaged. So it was interesting to see that last year because insurance carriers look at, well, our big exposures, the hurricane, the coast, the wildfires, we pretty much know that. Last year was not what happened when you look at that map. So they lost all these dollars and it was in the Midwest, but doesn't have all of that. So we're still seeing that. Here we are 6 months in the year. We've had wildfires. We still have wildfires again. California, bless their heart. Utah, New Mexico, Ruidoso, New Mexico had a couple of weeks ago evacuated the whole city. So the wildfires, a couple of years ago in Colorado had that massive wildfire. So those states are still suffering from wildfire concerns and issues for an insurance company. Texas, we had a massive wildfire up in the Panhandle this year. A lot of land, livestock, property destroyed. So again, that's just one peril. That's just 6 months in this year. Then what happens in Texas this last few weeks? We have a lovely hurricane come in through the Gulf. What was interesting though from that is you had this hurricane coming in, projected to hit Corpus Christi. It veers a little bit, but the bigger damage was not in Corpus Christi. The bigger damage was the winds. As that hurricane came inland, the flooding in Houston, the wind damage in all of those areas, and then the tornadoes spin off as it goes up through the state and the rest of the United States. So the actual impact of the hurricane didn't have as much damage as what happened when it went through the rest of the state. Again, sort of the impact. So we're through June, and I look at that going, we've had incredible rate increases, consumers all over. We've had insurance carriers, we've got more that are closing their doors and not doing business in the personal insurance space. And they're big name insurance carriers that have been around for years. So when it impacts them and they're closing doors, or they're not writing business anymore in a state because they go, we can't charge enough to pay for the claims. That's happening in many states. Part of it is rate. Part of it is we got to get some regulatory environment in place to help mitigate these claims. So, and control the costs. So we've talked about some of the costs already: labor, material, time that you're not able to get back in your home. So you've got loss of use expenses, you've got loss of car rental expenses. All those add up, and those are really out of the insurance company's control. They're waiting for the rest of the economy to handle some of those issues to get some of those costs under control. The other big issue that concerns me, and a lot of insurance carriers that's being looked at, is the increase in liability claims and liability costs. So that is, if you're liable or you're responsible for someone else's injuries or damage to their property, if they slip and fall on your property, if you have a car accident and you injure somebody or damage their car, we're talking liability. And then, so you've got home that's got liability there, and then you've got auto policies that have liability there. There's more frequency of claims post-COVID. Everybody's back to driving, or most are back to driving. So a lot more driving activity, but we're having a lot more claims activity. A lot of it attributed to distracted driving, heavily with mobile phone use, but not even that. Look at our vehicles that are equipped with, so people are looking at dashboards for directions, where we want to eat. So some of this technology is a great tool, but it's a distraction when you're operating a vehicle. A vehicle several thousand pounds going 40 to 70 miles an hour is destructive. So getting that under control, because we're having more claims frequency. And then when we have those claims, we're having more severity, meaning it's costing more with injuries, etc. So more to settle the claims. The bigger factor that's coming in on all of this too, business insurance, personal insurance, is a lot more attorney involvement, which drives up the cost per claim. And I don't know that consumers realize that attorneys are going to get 25 to 35% of any claim payment that they get for you. So they'll get paid 25 to 35% of that. That's driving the claim costs up as well. So attorney involvement, is it always necessary? A lot of the dollars that are paid advertising on television, on billboards, I mean, you don't go an hour probably without hearing or seeing someone, attorney, telling you need them. If you've been involved in an accident, you know what? That's just driving up costs. And is there something going on where the insurance company really isn't able to handle a little fender bender accident claim? There's body shops, they help coordinate that. Does that require an attorney? Every case is different, but I can tell you the mentality and having more attorneys involved is driving all those costs up, and the cost to be paid, which is causing a huge impact in another area of the insurance industry. This is the liability side. So now the costs are going up there, as well as trying to get an umbrella or excess liability. The insurance carriers are being a lot more strict on, why do you need a higher umbrella limit? What assets? What? Because if there is a big claim, they've got that increased liability or umbrella exposure. So just those factors have hit every area of the insurance industry. And I think people need to be made more aware of how that's impacting their rates. All of those causes are impacting the rate. And that's really outside of the insurance company just setting a rate. These are things they can't control. So I hate the negative on that. The reality right now is, I tell people, hunker down, we're still in a hard market. People are getting significant rate increases when those renewals can't come out. They're all having heart palpitations right there with them. And I go, but realistically, if you're getting an insurance renewal, you're going to have a rate increase. But do things that you can to control it right now. You've got a renewal, hunker down. See if you can raise that deductible a little bit. Let's get the deductibles up to what you can afford if there's a hail claim for your roof, or get those deductibles up. That's going to save you some premium. And then also, you don't want to turn in those small claims. If I back into a pole accidentally and it's just me and my car, probably going to fix that. I don't want that claim on my record. I save my claims for bigger concerns or issues if I damage or hurt somebody and it's significant. So deductible increases, hold on to your renewal if you're getting one, and then look at your coverages. We have a lot more calls with clients this year talking through the coverages they have and making sure we're maximizing their discounts. Take defensive driving online, get that to your agent, get that discount. If you've got a young driver, if they've got good grades, see if your insurance carriers, a lot of them offer discounts for good students. So if they've typically got a B average or higher, get that report card to your agent and get that discount on there. Those things are good tools that don't cost you. You've probably already done them, and just make sure your agent knows about it to help you get the best benefit out of any savings. The other recommendation I have is package. If you can put your home and auto with the same carrier, most carriers that do it give you discounts for bundling or packaging your insurance. So if that makes sense, usually the discounts that you'll get on the home and auto are beneficial to package it, if that's your case. So those are little things that don't cost you more. Those are things that can save you money that you can do just by maybe talking through with your agent. The other thing I recommend to people is, in many states, insurance score is used to tier insurance. And so in the states that allow it, part of that is part of the cost that they rate. People don't realize and how much of an impact their credit score. Credit is part of an insurance score that's run. So if you can improve your credit score, that also can improve your insurance rate in the states that allow it. So a lot of people don't realize that that has an impact. It absolutely does. So people with a really poor insurance credit score, if you could just do some proactive planning to improve that, and there's tips out there on ways to do that that don't cost anything. Get that done, have your agent look and see if you've got the most recent update on your credit score and if it improves your rate. So tips like that don't cost you anything, but they're proactive measures to take to save you some money. That's on the auto, that's on the home. Something I would recommend on auto umbrella liability is take a look at the limits that you're carrying to that point. All states have a minimum amount of insurance liability you have to carry on an auto. For example, in Texas, it's $30,000, $60,000, $30,000 per claim, $60,000 per accident. I tell people, look at the cost of vehicles on the road today. If you have $30,000 coverage in Texas alone, what's the cost of a Chevy Tahoe, a Suburban? Look at the vehicles that are driven on the road in my pickup. Look at the cost of vehicles. That's just for the vehicle. What if anybody's injured? You've got those limits for that claim. So I tell you, if you don't have an umbrella over it, you've got those liability limits. Then you personally can be held liable and your assets exposed if you don't have high enough limits. So I tell people, look at those limits, make sure they're really adequate, get them up there a little bit. State minimum is a state minimum. That doesn't mean that that's the amount you should carry. So get that in place. Get your deductibles up on the auto side. Get those a little higher. Don't turn in the small claims. Get your windshield chip repaired instead of waiting till it cracks and you have to replace the windshield. So little tips like that don't cost you and can help save you money and can help save your insurance, because at renewal time, if you've not had 6 and 7 claims, you're going to have a more decent renewal in this hard market. And then just hunker down. We will get through this cycle. We've done it before. The insurance carriers are using all their tools to try to get this this personal lines marketplace back in shape so that we all have a healthy market we have insurance carriers continuing to be able to write business for us.
I'm so thankful for you sharing all those tips. I think those are extremely valuable. Touch on the cyber, because you mentioned that. And so obviously that's big in the commercial side, but it does carry into the personal side. So touch on cyber and maybe one other coverage that might fly under the radar that you think is either something that everyone needs to know about or something that could be on the horizon.
Okay, so cyber on the personal side, I hear stories because clients are calling to see, did I have coverage? And on a personal, you hear about and you read about the phishing or the scams on personal computers, just like on businesses. They come in and they say, we need to upgrade your system or your network. Please log on here, give us your password so we can go in. And unsuspecting people do this, thinking they're getting help. Someone now has access to your system, your bank accounts. A lot of people are doing so much online now, and they have access to your bank accounts, your passwords. So I tell people just more and more caution that, but there is cyber coverage available by a lot of carriers now, that not only is there a service there to help pay claims when they happen, but to me, even more important, there's that risk management tool that they provide. They usually provide 24/7 resources, services to call if you think that something's happened or you've been scammed. The quicker you can get an investigator or a cyber expert to help track it down, the quicker something can be done to minimize what's happened to you. Sometimes people are very embarrassed by what happened. I feel bad. A lot of times the targets are older people and very trusting, and they're targets of this. And we're talking significant losses that happen. We have someone that went to rent a home. They make the deposit, then they get an email later to pay the balance on it. Here's the account that they want it wired to. It looks like the legitimate email, but there was a little different email address. They didn't catch it. They wire the funds for the rest of the rental home. The family shows up and the rental wasn't in place because the funds had been wired to a fraudulent actor. So something as simple as that, with as popular as vacation rentals, Airbnbs, something like that happens. We have someone else that gets a phone call and they say, I had one yesterday, actually on a text from a vendor that said, your 40% discount's going away today. Call this number within 24 hours so we can retain this discount. I'm not even the contact on that. So I immediately reached out to the number I had at home for the vendor and said, hey, this is the phishing that I got on my phone using your name, to alert them, because if it's happening to me, it's happening to others. So just things like that. But proactively, for me, the cyber coverage is providing you knowledge, training, information of cyber attacks that are happening out there and things to look for so you're aware and cognizant. So really the risk management tools these cyber policies provide, and the resources of 24/7 experts to help you if something happens, to try to help recover some of your funds or access, they lock down your system, access to your network and all your data, etc. So to me, that's critical. That's a very hot button right now, because it seems like every other day we're having a claim, we're having an issue with this happening with people. And we're talking significant dollars. We're not talking a small amount. We're talking thousands of dollars there, or the headache of locking down someone's bank account and they can't access their funds till they go clear things up. So just a number of things. Cyber to me is the coverage now that people ought to be looking at. It's not your identity theft coverage that helps you recover your identity. It actually helps with mitigation and recovery if there's a cyber issue. So I think that ought to be looked at on the personal side. And most insurance carriers, by the way, that write your home, etc., a lot of them have partnered to offer that as part of homeowners. It's an additional cost, but it can be included as part of your home insurance. So you've got that. And then you also have some insurance companies that write standalone cyber policies. So I always try to package it. If it's going to provide a discount, I try to put it. And those home carriers, again, are looking at tools to help clients as well. So, that nice package that they put in there, I think is always beneficial. And usually there's some price benefits for customers to package it. So that's my tip on cyber. As far as anything coming up in the future, etc., I think we're starting to see a little bit more work and intel being pulled on liability. There's going to need to be some changes in the industry. You've seen some things regulatory in the state of Florida that had been rampant with attorney involvement in claims that made the costs of claims exorbitant. We had more lawsuits in Florida than all the U.S. combined. So some of the regulation that's been put in place within the last few years, very recent, is actually helping the Florida market open up. Now, remember, we still have hurricanes. We still have a lot of people buying homes and nice homes and that goes. So there's a lot of exposure, but what we can try to control is the cost. The insurance industry wants to make you whole and get you back to where you were before. And the inflation costs of having litigation, those costs involved that aren't always necessary, it's getting under control a little bit better in Florida. And thus, more insurance carriers are willing to start writing a little bit more in that market. So it's improving Florida. We're seeing some improvement there because of that. But liability, there will be some changes in the marketplace. There has to be because of the storm that continues to brew on liability claims and costs, etc. So I expect some more tools to come there. The other thing we're seeing is some tools in some of the states like California, Texas, where we have fair plans for property insurance that historically have been for homes that couldn't get insurance for whatever period of time. Really, that was the last resort. It's intended for the open insurance market, but with what's happened with the insurance market and industry, California's fair plan has just been inundated with the volume of new business they have to write because people can't get insurance with a lot of carriers anymore. Florida was inundated. Louisiana has the same issue. So they've all been doing things at this point very proactive because it is a situation where insurance companies are just going, we can't afford to do business here, and consumers are suffering. They can't afford the cost of these insurance rates. So anyway, those fair plans, there's some policies that insurance companies are bringing in that will sit on top of those. That kind of marry it. They give a little bit more coverage than a basic fire policy that most of these states kind of provide in their fair plan. It's a basic policy, but they call it difference in conditions, a DIC policy. And it brings you those different condition policies, water, theft, those coverages that you don't typically get on a base policy. That's becoming prevalent. We're seeing a lot more insurance carriers open up their surplus lines to write home and property insurance. And what that means is those surplus lines policies are able to write a little bit more flexible policy. They can write higher deductibles. They can write in these high risk areas, but maybe they limit some of the coverages that they don't offer to be able to make it affordable. So we're seeing a lot more business go into the excess and surplus E&S lines on commercial, but heavily in personal. And it was not that way years ago. So, but what that is doing is providing opportunity for people to be able to get insurance, maybe with some limitations, and they can decide, you know what, I'll take this higher deductible. I don't need this loss of use coverage because it's my secondary home. So if something happens, I don't have to live in another location. I've got my house. So there's just a number of things. I think the surplus market is going to continue to be enhanced because of what's happening with the cost of insurance, but it's providing coverage for customers to be able to have it and affordable in areas they can't. The E&S market is heavy in California, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Colorado, New Mexico. So all of these areas, and I just described earlier in my conversation about the issues that they've all had, hotspots because of claims. So liability, surplus lines markets, those are going to be bringing everybody's attention even more probably sooner than later.
Yeah, I think these are all important perspective conversations to have to give you, broadly what's going on at a micro level, like what's going on locally. And so understanding what's taking place so that you're informed, but also then, just like you shared, the tips on, the recommendations to be able to protect your family and protect your assets. So extremely valuable information. Where do we go to carry this conversation forward? So website, social media, where would you direct us to connect with you and with Higginbotham?
So mrussell@higginbotham.net is my personal email. Please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help answer questions, or I'll find someone who can help. The other is higginbotham.com, our website. We have all of our social media as well. Whatever your preference is to reach out, look for Higginbotham, HIGGINBOTHAM. And we've got a whole team of people, again, 4,000 employees that are happy to reach out and help answer or guide any insurance questions you might have.
Well, Mary Russell, President, Private Client Services with Higginbotham Insurance. Thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate you. Stay well.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.